Hello and welcome back to The Movies Made Us Do It. Me and Matt are here talking about the amazing 1995 movie Ghost in the Shell. When did you... Hi, Matt.
Hello.
We fucked this up. We were bitching about Doctor Who so much that I forgot to unmute us and we've started again. So we're all a bit discombobulated now.
It's a good start so far.
It's fine.
Had a nice bitch about Doctor Who.
It is shit.
We're going to talk about something fucking awesome.
We're going to talk about the polar opposite to modern Doctor Who.
Yes.
One of the greatest animated features ever.
Yep.
Maybe the best ever. I don't know. It's up there. It's
So,
up there. When did you first see Ghost in the Shell?
When it originally came out on video.
Oh, okay.
I really wanted to go to the cinema because this was the first anime that was released at the same time in both Japan, America, and Britain.
Yes.
And I'm not even sure they showed it anywhere near me anyway, to be honest.
No, it would have been a Watershed deal if the Watershed was
Yeah,
around.
I imagine the Watershed did, and I wasn't really a Watershed person back then.
No.
I don't go to the Watershed very often as it is, but I certainly wouldn't have then.
No.
I don't think. But yes, video when it came out on video.
Same. I think I saw it over a friend's house. I missed the old days, you know. I missed the days because 1995. Obviously, the internet was about somewhat. But I didn't have it.
Yeah, same here. I do. I certainly did.
And so I just love that period of time. You know, like it's great now. We've got access to all the information in the world. But there was something really nice about that time when we didn't, and you kind of learned things from your mates, and you went round a friend's house and like, oh my god, have you seen this movie, or have you seen that, or have you heard about this? And that kind of more natural way of discovering things. And I watched this round a friend's house, Ghost in the Shell. They had it on VHS, and it blew my fucking mind.
I'm trying to remember whether I read the story before. The original, the manga before?
I hadn't. In fact, I only read. I started reading the mangas because I bought the complete collection. God, earlier this year, I think. Maybe.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. It's a lovely hardback.
It's very
edition.
different.
Well, the major,
is very different.
It's a weird one.
She's very funny and
yeah, she is. She's very cocky and jokey and like kind of smutty as well.
In the manga, and they basically serious her up for this.
Well, she does become more serious in the manga as time goes on, because once they've dealt with like the Laughing Man and stuff, it kind of becomes a bit more serious. Like she starts off quite jokey and becomes a bit more hardened through events. I think is the Laughing Man that makes her a bit more serious. But during the course of the manga, she does become more serious. But you're right, when you read the manga, it is like, wow, this is like a completely different character. She's like way more jokey and funny and wisecracking.
I think I'd certainly read Appleseed by then.
Right. Yeah.
Really love Appleseed. So I like a lot of Shiro's stuff.
Appleseed's great.
Did Tank Police come out before or after this?
Before, I think.
Yeah, so I think I'd already seen Tank Police and stuff like that.
Do you know, I love Tank Police as well, but whenever I think of Tank Police, and it's the same with Appleseed as well, actually, but it's especially Tank Police, and Cyber City Oedo.
Oh yeah.
Whenever I hear those, all I can think about is that goddamn 90s trailer that manga used to have on the front of every VHS.
Oh, the one that used Celtic Frost?
The one where, they were talking about like the future and like, I was like, oh god. That trailer, when they go through like the different animes that you can buy and this out now, and there was one that just did the rounds. It felt like it was on every VHS.
Yeah.
And it just, for some reason, Tank Police always reminds me of that trailer. I can't remember the line now. It's got some real cheesy
I know the one
American lines over the top of it.
It's
great.
Got that voice.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, so let's get into it. Obviously, we're not talking about the Scarlett Johansson movie.
To be honest, I kind of enjoyed that.
I didn't hate it.
So much. There's a lot of. This whole scenes they completely lift out.
I don't mind it. I've only seen it once.
I think I've seen it a couple of times. I mean, it helps that you've got Beat Takeshi in it.
Yeah, I don't hate it. It's its own thing, and the scenes it lifts, it does do reasonably well.
Yeah. And I think what's his I always forget his name. Is it Pilu Uzbek,
yeah,
who plays I was going to say Briar Rios, then not Briar Rios.
Bato, yeah,
who plays Bato, is perfect.
Yeah, he's great.
He's the perfect man. So I think they did actually a really good job, and I like they added to the opening shootout with that sort of geisha droid and
I
stuff.
liked the geishas. Yeah, they were cool.
Really cool. I think they actually did. It completely falls apart by the end.
Yes. Oh God.
They don't handle the end anywhere near as well.
And the budget seemed to disappear, and they just went into terrible late 90s CGI. It's awful.
Yeah, it did very feel.
It had some stuff. I mean, it's not like on a scale of because generally live action adaptations of anime are terrible. I would say, you know, Alita's probably near the top for me, and this is somewhere under that. You know, like in terms of like I watched it, I was like, yes.
I do have a soft spot for the live action Fist of the North Star. It's awful, but I really like it.
So do I. I've got a soft spot for Guyver Dark Hero, but that doesn't make it good.
Those Guyver movies are fucking awesome.
It doesn't make them good. They're awesome, but they're terrible.
They're terrible. Yeah, but the effects, man.
Oh yeah, the second one in particular.
Screaming Man George.
Yeah.
So I think. Oh god, those are so good, so good. And also, who didn't want to watch Mark Hamill becoming a bug?
Well, or
in a really
David
disturbing, gross way,
or David Hayter being, you know, what do they call him in that? Oh, they give him an American name. I can't think what they call the character in that. But yeah,
I've seen them, but I did love them.
Yeah, they were good fun. But anyway, we are talking about the 1995 anime, and we open with it's kind of like a computer visual as we see like a map of the city, like a 3D map of the city, and we hear police bulletins.
And it's got that sort of it's a sort of a beginning that is used in superhero movies and other cyber sort of stuff. It's like somebody listening to like the world, you know. It's like that. It's like Superman stood on a building.
Yeah, well, we discovered that that's actually Kusanagi is listening to everything, because Bato's like you've got a lot of voices in your head. There's a lot of chatter in your head today.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's listening to like the police reports. It's like a 208 in progress or something.
Yeah.
And Bato says that, you know, Section 6 is ready to move in. And he's talking to the major, and obviously she kind of says she's got it. She'll take it from here. She rips the wires out the back of her neck, and like, oh, you know, immediately I'm like, this is it for me. Like Cyberpunk got the internet completely wrong. Okay, that's what Cyberpunk did, because it was early, speculative, and it did what it did, but it got the internet wrong. Right? But I way more prefer this version. You know, I prefer this like analog future. I love it.
Yeah,
I fucking love it. And I like, you know, that analog future, analog cyberpunk is like the best.
Yeah.
And whenever I watch something like this, I'm like, oh, that's so cool.
I was thinking about that. That's one of the things I was thinking about. The devices and things.
Yeah.
And how modern devices, they're all these dull little squares of plastic.
The thing is,
no embellishments or anything like that, and like any bit of, you know, tech you see in these things are like, you know,
amazing
things strapped to them,
yep.
And they've got all these wires and stuff, and it just looks fucking cool. And of course, it's completely impractical as fuck, but
we got
no design for anything, is there?
We got the cyberpunk future that we always thought we'd get, but we only got the shit dystopian bits. We didn't get any of the cool stuff.
No.
None of it. But anyway, she's listening in, and then she disconnects the wires, and takes off the overcoat, and she's basically looking over this massive tall building.
Yeah, and she's completely naked she's naked except for some straps for her holster and
straps that will also magically go invisible for reasons that we will never explain. But fine, whatever. Yes. So yes, you're right. She's completely naked, and
I think the thing about the Major is you see her naked quite a lot.
It doesn't mean anything though.
This is what I've always thought was the cool thing. It's like she herself is incredibly sexy. I think she's really sexy. You see her naked, but it's not remotely
sexualized.
Sexual.
No,
it's not.
Well, we'll see that in a minute with the opening as well. It's a production line. It's nothing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and I love the credits to this, the opening credits. But yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It's not really sexualized. It's like matter of fact. You know, she needs to be naked for her cyborg camo to work. Like, fine, you know, it seems like a very Japanese design.
Yes.
What can I say?
It is.
But anyway, an armed.
The difference is that when you, I can't think of any examples off the top of my head, but when you think of a lot of other sort of, you know, Japanese animation of the time, it would have been like big bouncy boobs, and it would have been a lot more sort of, oh yeah, this is, and
you'd have some
this
like
is to be titillating, you know, this is to be, and I don't think this is. It's
no, and because you'd also have like some smutty midget guy there for some reason.
Yes.
Like, do you know what I mean? Like
commenting on the fact that she's naked.
Yeah. I'm thinking of like Nightmare City or something, aren't I? But I can't, you know. But and in this case, it's not. It is very much more kind of matter of fact, and she doesn't seem to see it that way. Because it's not even her body, really, and that kind of falls into the themes of the movie.
Bit, with Batu sort of, you know, he gives her his jacket at one point, which is it's literally just he just puts a jacket on her. But there's only one bit when he's on the boat that he reacts to her nakedness when she's taking her suit off.
But he has an attraction to her anyway.
Yes,
like, outside of just physical, but just he has an attraction to her.
Yeah.
But anyway, she's listening in on this meeting, and we see a group of armed police officers enter the building, and they're kind of the guys inside are surprised the police have arrived, and we get this they draw their weapons, start firing at the door.
Yeah, and it's a guy that they're supposed to be giving asylum to, isn't he? Some sort of computer guy.
Yeah, so the old guy's like tells them to stop shooting, and then he's like, "I've got diplomatic immunity. You can't do this to me. I demand to know what's going on here."
This is one of my favourite things about it's about a lot of anime, to be honest. A lot of sort of there's a deal of detail that you just don't get with like American animation. That especially with the guns. When the bodyguards have those suitcases that
are machine guns,
they press the button and the machine guns come, which are real things like H&K.
Yeah.
Those those things. There are the machine which are just awesome, and I love there's a bit later on where one of the guys, he takes the magazine out of his gun and checks how many bullets he's got left in it, and you don't see that in other things. You don't even see that in live action movies, to be honest. Very often, not completely, but very often.
Well, and often you get inconsistent numbers of bullets in clips and stuff as well.
Yes.
Like, you know, it's all just nonsense.
From what I get, the Oshii took his crew to shoot guns and to blow up, like to shoot
to understand how it works and how you would animate it.
You know, objects like concrete and things react when they're hit with bullets and stuff. So that you get all that amazing detail.
Absolutely. I mean, a lot of this movie is detail. It's all in the details. There's a lot of parts of this film where nothing's happening and you're just looking at incredible cityscapes and you know.
And I think that's one of those things that I think bothers people about this movie.
I love it.
And for me, it's like
I lap it up. It's amazing.
One of my favourite scenes is just them going through the city.
I love the scene with when the Major's late getting to the meeting and she's just looking across the city and it's like just see all these scenes. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But in any case, Nakamura, who's like head of Section 6, he enters and says that they're taking a programmer out of the country. He says that taking programmer out of the country is an offence. But the young programmers basically signed a request for asylum.
Yeah.
So their hands are tied, but then suddenly, we hear the voice of the Major. I think she says like, "Of course you are, of course you have," or something like that.
Yeah, he's saying, I can't remember what he says now. He says something about the organisation and what it is, and she says, of course they are, and she shoots him in the head.
And then his head explodes.
Yeah.
And the police are like, what the fuck?
The detail of his head exploding, like his spinal column and all these wires come out.
All wires, yeah, it's great.
So fucking cool.
And then, of course, everyone's like, what the fuck just happened? The police will kind of fire at the windows haphazardly, like as if they're fighting the Predator or something, you know.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Nakamura heads to the window and he looks out and he just sees the Major falling. And I love as she's. I mean, obviously, in reality, none of this works. But in anime slow motion, it's awesome.
She weighs about 3 tons or something.
Well, yeah, but it's when
dropped like a stone.
She dropped like a stone, but in slow motion, she slowly puts her hand over her face as it becomes invisible. And I love that shot. It's like in reality, you would never see that. Like the guy would never see it. No. But obviously in anime, it looks incredible.
It's fucking beautiful.
She becomes invisible, and then we head into the title sequence. The creation of a cyborg.
Oh man, it's still probably one of my favourite openings.
I think it might be my favourite anime openings. I think it might be.
Because it's just, I mean,
the music is stunning for a start.
Do you know what it is, that music?
No.
That's the song.
It's a prayer, isn't it?
It's a wedding.
It's a wedding.
Blessing.
Right.
It's a wedding blessing.
Mm.
Like to sort of banish evil spirits and stuff like that. It's so fucking good.
Yeah, it's incredible.
It's used through the whole movie, but in this particular beginning, you've got the they're putting together the Major's body, and you're watching them, in this.
And again, it's a production line. There's nothing really particularly sexualized about it. It's just a process.
Because it's like you see that being sort of the body being pulled along these long corridors and these long tunnels and things.
Yeah,
and you've got these technicians who almost look like monks, like walking around, and it almost has that sort of feel of like the 40K technicians, the Mechanicum,
the prayer technicians. Yes.
Yeah, it's got that feel to it. That it's obviously this is I think before the Mechanicum work existed. But
I don't really know 40K.
Or in their presence.
I know what you're talking about.
And they have they've got this really good, and of course it's interspliced with this sort of the zeros and ones sort of flickering, and fucking the Matrix completely lifted that whole.
Oh yeah, the color green and the text is 100%. But I mean, I think to their credit, the Wachowskis were very clear about their ripping that off.
Well, yeah, they in their pitch to, I forget who it was they pitched it to. In their pitch, they literally gave him a copy of Ghost in the Shell to tell them, to show them what they were trying to do. So they although I think they're guilty of ripping more than this off.
Oh, for sure.
And not mentioning it, but at least they've always been upfront about Ghost in the Shell.
Yeah, less so about like Megazone 23 and stuff, but certainly Ghost in the Shell they're honest about. So, but anyway, yes, we see this production line as the Major is created. It's a wonderful production line. Even goes to the extent of giving her anime hair at the end, which is nice. Get the anime haircut straight away.
And they pull. I actually think the live action version does a very good job of that as well.
It's great. Yeah.
It's almost just as well done. It's very cool.
Yeah, it is. Anyway, as if she was dreaming this sequence, the Major wakes up. She wakes up in a dark room and looks out the window before getting dressed in kind of combat gear.
Again, what a shot that is! It's
wonderful.
Just her framed against the window, and the edge is just complete darkness. Yeah, and just her waking up and like you said, getting dressed, and it's such a beautifully framed shot. That's probably been nicked by lots of people since.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, it's cyberpunk porn for sure.
Yeah, this whole movie. Again, in the opposite direction, you can see where he was influenced by Blade Runner.
Oh yeah, 100%.
You can see where where he got his influences from. I mean, Blade Runner is the ultimate cyberpunk movie, really. It's where it's like the granddaddy of all those movies. So everybody who makes a cyberpunk movie will definitely steal something from Blade Runner, even if they don't know it.
Yeah, it's like if it's film, it's Blade Runner. If it's novels, it's Neuromancer. They're both just those seminal things that so many, regardless of country, are inspired by. There's a lot of Blade Runner's DNA in this film for sure. Particularly around the questioning of what's real, what's not, and what's fake, and all of that kind of stuff, and souls and all of that good stuff.
That's the thing about this movie. The difference between another difference between this and the manga is that Oshii wanted to put his own stamp on it.
Yeah,
and he asked, from what I know, he asked Shiro if he could do that, and Shiro agreed. And it's the movie is a lot more philosophical than than the manga is.
Yeah. So in any case, a VTOL lands on top of a building, and I think this is the first time we see Aramaki, the head of Section 9. He meets a minister on the roof, and they basically discuss this secret meeting. The Gavel Republic planned to have like the following day this secret meeting, and they've got this new revolutionary government, and they're basically have this old ruling leader who now is seeking asylum in Japan. But yeah, so then they're obviously thanking. Also thanks Section 9 for helping with the defection. And I guess we should say here, a lot of this movie revolves around different secret departments. So there's Section 6 and Section 9. They're the same, but they kind of oppose each other.
There seems to be a running rivalry between 6 and 9.
Yes. We don't know what the other ones do, but 6 and 9 in this.
Well, I think you find out what the other ones do. They seem to. It's my guess is they're kind of supposed to be like sort of the MI5, MI6 sort of thing.
Yeah. I think that's the idea.
Yeah, in that one's supposed to be internal and one's supposed to be external.
Yeah, and certainly 9 seems to be cyber.
Yeah.
Whereas 6, they say a couple of times that 6 aren't supposed to have, or either don't or aren't supposed to have cyber units running in their department. It's very much Section 9's thing. Anyway, we cut to a lab and we see these red suited techs and the major studying this unconscious woman, and they're trying to access her brain. She's basically the interpreter for this minister, but she's been hacked, and I think she was hacked while on the phone. But
and this is the beginning of one of the nightmares of this whole movie. The whole idea that you can be hacked.
Oh, dude, this movie
can be hacked.
I tell you now, and I'll tell everyone listening, that Ghost in the Shell is the fucking reason I will never get Neuralink or any other shit put in my head.
Same
fucking never.
Thank you. Yeah.
Never gonna happen because of this movie.
when I was playing Cyberpunk at this time, yeah, totally.
Yes, in science fiction fantasy, fine, but in reality, hell no.
No.
Hell no.
Fuck right off.
So anyway, this interpreter.
I have problems with my brain as it is. I don't want extra problems with my brains, and the idea that somebody can influence my brain outside it,
Yeah, but I've got
a few keys.
I've got dumb enough thoughts as it is. I don't need someone else fucking messing with it. So this interpreter has been hacked, and Aramaki suggests that it could be this person called the Puppet Master. And he's basically trying to disrupt the talks that are ongoing. I think Aramaki believes that the Puppet Master's plan was to turn the interpreter into an assassin. So basically, hack her, turn her into an assassin. She would then disrupt or kill people at the talks.
Yep.
And while this is going on, Bato and the other guy who I can't remember the name of.
I always forget that. I love the other dude.
He's one of my favorite characters as well, because he's like the opposite of Cyber. He's like, no cybernetics for me, and I like this old gun, and I don't do anything.
He's my kind of guy, because whenever I play any sort of like game like Far Cry or anything like that, or anything, give me a revolver. Cyberpunk, for instance, my main guy in Cyberpunk, get me a revolver. I want a revolver.
Yep. I agree.
I don't care if it's old tech. I want a revolver.
Hang on, I'm gonna see if the name is in these notes somewhere. But yeah, Ishikawa.
Ishikawa.
They're driving out in the car. They're tracing the signal.
Yeah.
And the Major goes to meet with them. So they're tracing the car. The Major meets them at their van. They're all kind of. She gets ready, dressed in armor and whatnot. As Tokusa.
I love the whole "give me the wheel" thing.
Yes, yeah. So Tokusa
takes over, and
he's like, "Oh Jesus!"
through her implants, and it's like, "Oh, for fuck's sake!" And then as the wheel goes its own way.
Yeah, because she's just like, "You can have it now." It's like, whoa, we're on the motorway, Christ. But they start talking about the Puppet Master, and I love this discussion they have where they're like, "Oh, he or she," because at first the Major, all the way through this, like, we don't know the sex of the person, he or she, but then they always talk about it as being a he from then on. They're like, it could be either, but we'll just assume it's probably a guy being this much of an asshole. But they think he might be American. They don't know. They basically know nothing. About
everything they basically got is just sort of a
conjecture. Yeah,
conjecture.
Yeah. He's basically been active all around the world, and is basically just quite certainly in the secret Section 9 / secret departments circles around the world. He's quite an infamous cyber terrorist, and he's known for ghost hacking people's brains. So the ghost is your being basically inside your. If you're in a cyborg body, the ghost is your brain or your bits, right? That's you.
Basically your spirit, isn't it?
Your spirit, yes.
Kind of who you are.
And he is hacking people's brains and spirits and taking them over using Neuralink, which is why we don't do Neuralink. But this is the first time that, as far as they're aware, he's appeared in Japan. So they thought it might all just be like disinformation and not true. But obviously the Major's kind of pretty sure.
Like some sort of ghost story, basically.
Yeah, like he's like this mythical kind of thing. And then the Major has a go. I mean, it's Tokusa, sorry. And the Major has a go at him about his old handgun, and I'm like, no, that's cool as fuck.
Yep.
I'm like, no, keep that gun. That's great.
Yeah. Awesome.
But to be fair, the Major does say, because he's like, I'm confused as to why you even hired me, why I was even recruited into Section 9, given that I'm not in any way like this. But the Major's like, no, we need, like, he's the most human out of the whole team. And they need that perspective.
Him and the boss have got none of the implants that Bato and she has.
Yeah.
And Bato is like, he's like, I don't know what, 50% human or something, and the Major's basically just a brain
in a robot
in a
suit.
jar, basically.
Yeah. So
it's really good explanation. It's the whole sort of no. We need a human.
We need a human on this team.
Yeah, we need all points of view. What a concept these days, eh? We need all sorts of points of view and all sorts of abilities to make something,
to make it work. Yeah.
To make it work.
Oh.
Otherwise, you specialize in one thing and you make it one thing, and then that's all that thing is.
Yeah, absolutely. Meanwhile, garbage is being collected. Garbage men are driving about doing their job. But one of them says to the other, I think there's two in the cab.
Collecting Shirley Manson then.
They're what?
I said I nearly made a joke about collecting Shirley Manson then, but I walked away.
You could have. was a missed opportunity. But one of them basically says, hurry up, because he's kind of hanging around this public access terminal.
Yeah.
They've got a job to do. What are you doing fucking about?
Yeah, he's sort of collecting these cards that are taped underneath, and he's using them
to hack his wife or some shit. His ex-wife.
He explains that he's hacking his ex-wife because his wife's leaving him, and she won't let him have access to his daughter. And I love the guy.
Two wrongs don't make a right, sir.
The other guy is there. He's got his eyes closed. He's not paying anything. He just wants to get his job done.
Yeah. He's like, I want to get fucking.
He says to him, you really should be doing that, because how did you get all that shit anyway? And I love that he just says, I met this really nice man at the pub.
His name was the Puppet Master.
I met this really nice man at the pub. And he just gave me a load of stuff.
Yes,
really? Well, that's not dodgy at all, is it?
No.
He listened to my sub story and he gave me this stuff to do it.
He asked me if I wanted to
do is go from terminal to terminal and hack my wife. Great.
He asked me if I wanted some bootleg DVDs, and then he said, "Do you want to hack your wife?"
And I love the way he says, look at my beautiful daughter. Do you want to see? And I like the guy. He's got his eyes closed. He goes, I don't want to see that shit. I've got no interest in your family.
And also, this is kind of incriminating stuff. I just don't want to be involved. I just want to do my job and get home.
Yeah, exactly.
A typical bin man. Just like start early, end early, get it done as fast as possible. Don't want to deal with this. Anyway, they drive off eventually. Just as Bato and Ishikawa arrive, realizing that they're too late, basically.
Yeah.
So they start talking to locals, and I think they're the ones that are like, the garbage guys were just here.
Comes down with his bag. Hey, I missed the garbage.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah, he does, doesn't he? He's like, oh yeah, I missed the garbage. Like, okay, I think I know what we're looking for.
Pato says, is anybody messing around with this terminal? And he says, like, yeah, one of the garbage guys was. That's why I thought I had enough time to get my rubbish to come back down.
Yeah, and then of course they contact the major, who a lot of the contacting in this obviously is done just by thinking, because they're just linked. So obviously Bato will just immediately think it, and the major starts doing it. So she gets onto the net using Section 9's terminal, and basically works out the route of the garbage truck.
Yeah.
And she ends up taking over the driving of the van. She's like, no, I'm doing it.
Let's give me the wheel.
Yeah. And they basically take chase after these garbage men. And the garbage men kind of become aware of the fact that the police are investigating.
Yeah, well, they get a phone call, don't they?
Yeah, but of course they think it's about the wife thing.
Yeah.
Rather than
he's like, why are the police asking about?
Yeah, like what have you done?
Stuff. What have you done? He's like, I haven't done nothing. And there's another guy that you see here who has been planting the cards underneath these terminals.
Yeah.
And he's got this sort of like raincoat on and his sunglasses, and he's sort of like, and I love the because we've got the guy who's driving the rubbish truck is like, hey, we've got a water, because he sees basically they tip their hand. And he's like, hey, we've got a warn this guy. They're going to totally come for him. So he spins off and goes off their route there. So they're immediately like, well, we know it's him then. So we know we're chasing the right dude. And I love that shot of he's like the other guy. He's planting the card. He looks over and he sees the garbage truck coming over the hill and him waving out of the window. Hey, they're onto you. They're coming. And he's like, and he just goes like, you just think, what a fucking idiot.
Yeah. But yeah, so the major and Togusa are obviously on the scene now as well. They both basically arrive together.
Yeah.
And we see a nearby man wearing sunglasses, and he starts firing at the Section 9 van.
The guy who's been planting the cards.
Yes.
I like that he loads up his I don't know what gun it is. It's like an Uzi, isn't it?
Yeah, an Uzi kind of thing.
He loads up with these high-powered rounds, which basically shouldn't be fired from the gun he's using.
Yeah, because Bato's like, this guy must be fucking insane to put that
Yeah.
caliber bullet, just shove it into this gun. It's like not designed
just
at all.
completely rip through their cars and
Yeah.
just completely decimate.
Well, because the Major kind of like saves Bato's life here, because she's like, if you're planning on hiding behind that car door,
Yeah.
don't. That's not gonna stop it.
And I love the way the guy, when he's loaded, he loads up the things and he plants himself.
Yes.
He's like really grinds his legs in.
Yeah, because it pushes him back, right?
Yeah, it pushes him back as he's firing these fucking bullets, which is so fucking awesome.
But yeah, he basically takes the van out, but the Major and Togusa manage to escape the wreck.
Yeah.
And Bato arrives, and of course he's got the super eyes, so the guy's now cloaked, but he can see him.
Yeah.
So Bato starts firing back. Major heads to the rooftops, but then the man escapes onto like crowded streets.
Yeah, he ends up in a market, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And it's again what?
Oh, it's amazing. The level of detail
and just how beautiful it is. And I don't know whether. Well, I'm presuming that certainly at the time I was a big Hong Kong movie fan, so you can tell that they based the city on Hong Kong.
Oh yeah.
There are whole bits where you're like, well, that looks like that place in Hong Kong, and that looks like that place in Hong Kong, and the market looks very Hong Kong. It's really fucking cool.
Yeah. So yeah, we have this kind of gunfight through the market area. Lots of people, lots of panic. In this I mean, by 1995 we'd seen some anime, but even then this was so goddamn impressive.
Oh yeah.
You know, like it's hard to overstate how amazing this was to watch the first time. Really mind-blowing stuff.
It's a mix of animation and computer as well.
And done very well, I think.
Yeah, done really well.
But yeah, so Bato chases after the guy, but the guy seems to lose him. But you know, he manages to escape into this kind of shallow waterfront area. I've never quite known what that is, but it's just a very open, wet area.
I think it's just basically horrible little alleyways that
they're flooded.
To the river, isn't it? It's just I say river. Yeah, it must be a river, and it just looks like this. I would say like a dump part, isn't it? It's just open ground, which is a bit flooded
and of course the guy is aware that he's being followed, so he kind of sprays and prays until he runs out of bullets.
Yep.
And of course the Major's like, oh, you out of bullets? Never mind, and then just proceeds to beat the crap out of him.
And again, it's so cool. She's in her camo, and you can see her like
you can see the outline
with water.
Yeah,
and you can see invisible hands grab him and break his arm and break his leg. And I love it. Even though he's got like this broken arm and broken leg, he's still doing backflips.
Yes.
And he's like hopping around on one leg and stuff. It's fucking awesome.
Well, there is a reason for that.
Yes.
As they soon discover. Although arguably with cyber bodies you could probably do that regardless.
Yeah.
The Major and Bato end up questioning the guy and interrogating.
They basically incapacitate him.
Yeah, and they take him back and
but what it's that he said, he starts shouting about this stuff and Bato says, "Fuck, this is like fuckers. Do you even know who you are? Do you even remember your name?"
And that's where it all starts clicking.
Yeah.
And he realizes.
I love that he's like there. He's got this broken dude on the floor, and he's looking up, and he just his face just drops as he's like, you can see him struggling to fight. He's like, "What is my name?
Who am I?"
Like, do you remember where you went to school? Do you remember anything about your thing? And he's like, completely.
And then he starts like he just has like a full on panic, as you would, and he's like, "Will my memories ever come back? Will I ever know who I am?"
That's the other guy, isn't that?
Is that less? Sorry, that's the guy later, isn't it? Yes.
That's the garbage guy. That's You've got they know, and I like Bato says these ghost hack people are so fucking pathetic. They're like they're really just really sad. You know,
as most hackers
no
are.
idea what's happened to them.
As most hackers are in today, you know.
Yeah. And you get the others, Mr. No Cybernetics. He's interrogating the other guy, the garbage truck guy, and they're saying, you know, they're saying to him, "Do you remember this?" And it's like, "Do you remember that?" He goes, "No," because I live with my wife. He goes, "No, you live in this apartment." It's like, "No, I was living in this apartment because my wife left me. Because I've only been living there for this." No, we've been to your apartment. You've been living in a bachelor's apartment for like 10 years.
Yeah.
You don't have a wife. You've never had a wife.
Yeah, and
like,
he sees this. He's got this photo of like a dog and daughter and wife and all of this, and it's like, nope.
Well, no, it's not even that. It's just a picture of him.
Yeah, no, he sees it. He doesn't he see it?
Yeah, he sees.
That's right. He sees
a picture of a daughter and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the reality is no, none of that. And then, of course, as I said, he then starts panicking, and he's like, "Will I ever get my memories back?" And Bato's like, "Well, odds are not great because, like, historically, this has not gone well."
Basically, no, not really.
Yeah.
You might get something back, but it's very unlikely.
Yeah. So yeah, he's basically been hacked and given these false memories to basically be in this role for this particular job and you know, to be used in this particular way.
Yeah, and they just saw that the other guy was a criminal, but he was just like a low level thug.
Yeah.
And you know, with no real sort of big ties or anything. It's just that they basically used him almost for the same reason. It's just that he was the right tool for the right fit, so they just hacked him as well to facilitate the grunt work, basically.
Yeah. So the Major goes diving in the harbor, and this was the point of the movie when I first watched it, where I was like, oh yeah, these people think like I do. Because as soon as I saw this scene, I was like, that's a really dumb thing to do in a cyber body.
Yeah.
And as soon as she gets out of the water, Bato's like, that's a really dumb thing to do. What are you doing? He's just like, oh, you just love to live life dangerously, don't you? He's like, what if one of a million things went wrong down there? And she's just like,
breaks or something, you know. And she says, you know, I didn't invite you here. You invited yourself.
Yeah.
And I'm here for a lecture.
Well, she says, like, I guess I'd die, or would you dive in to save me? And that's when he's kind of like, almost, if he had eyes, he would be blushing.
Yeah, and she says, you know, I'm not here for a lecture, and he's totally sort of like, fuck, I said the wrong thing there, bollocks, you know.
He's like put his foot in it, yeah.
And she's taking off her suit, and that's where I think you get him, you know, look away, because I think the difference is that usually when he sees her naked, it's just the job.
It's just the job, yeah. Whereas this feels more intimate and personal.
He's actually seeing her get undressed for, you know, like normal life.
Yes.
So I think he kind of looks away, I think.
I have never thought about that before, actually. I quite like that distinction that now he's.
I mean, I might be reading too much in it. But
no, I think you're right. You're right, because
it's always that way.
It's always very clinical.
Yeah.
But here, she does seem a little more kind of vulnerable, and she is kind of just changing in, like you said, in a normal kind of a human way.
Yeah.
But anyway, they have some beers, and they kind of start talking
San
about
Miguel, no less.
San Miguel. They have some San Miguels and talk about super cyborgs and whatnot. And we hear the Major's voice change slightly.
Well, it's
briefly.
Somebody says the beginning of the when I was a child, I thought it was like child sort of thing, isn't it? It's the quote from, is it Corinthians?
Something like that.
And you know, Bata says, "That was you, right?"
Yeah.
And she doesn't know.
She doesn't respond.
Answers. She doesn't answer.
No. But that's like a lot of the theme of this movie is like, who is anybody? Like, and even later on, the Major's just like, have I even got a human brain? The fuck do I know? I could just be a fucking program. Like, I don't know.
That's the thing about what she says why she dives.
Yeah.
She dives because
it makes her feel.
Yeah. And, you know, and she says about whenever I surface, it's like being born again. It's the idea that I become anew, and maybe every time I come out, I'm a different person.
Yeah. So
And I think, is this where we get the first?
we get the big long cityscape with the ferry ride and the
I've
beagle.
watched this movie with people who were like, "Why are we seeing this?
Because it's amazing.
Exactly, and it's like some people just don't.
I know.
They're like, why are we just wandering around the city doing nothing? What is the point of all of it? It's like
you're seeing this world you've never seen before in amazing detail. It's wonderful. I love these scenes.
Just beautiful, sort of, and I'd be happy with this in the real world. It's just a scene of just going along the city, and it starts raining, and you see, and recently I've watched a couple of movies that do similar things.
Yeah. I think it shows to me, sometimes it's a double-edged sword. Sometimes people do it to waste time, but when you've got long shots of things like this, I think it just exudes confidence to me. It's like a confident director showing you stuff and taking the time to show you stuff. There's so many films these days that are just fast cut. Don't focus on anything. And this.
Wings of Desire.
Yes,
they had a similar thing with Berlin. They want to show you the city. They want to, in that movie, the city is a character as well. And I think it is with this. The whole city is. It's the core of this whole thing. It's part of what's going on. It's the whole idea, and it's very much like Hong Kong was at the time. It's that it was a city that was very traditional, very old. But there's all these neon lights, and there's all these modern, modern technology hanging around, and there's, so it's very much that, core of what this story is,
Yeah. Anyway, presumably that evening, a blonde woman is walking naked and gets hit by a car.
Yeah.
Section 9. Basically take her, and we see that she's pretty much completely cybernetic, and we soon learn she is entirely cybernetic. So she was built in the lab. Somehow the lab had been the assembly line had been hacked.
The factory that makes the Major
that basically got hacked.
Basically went online itself and made a random body.
But more importantly, made a body that didn't even have a ghost. And then the ghostless body left the building. And it was just pure chance that Section 9 found this, because these guys obviously were like, I have killed someone. Like, oh my God, I've murdered this woman.
We just ran over a naked woman.
Yeah, exactly. And if it wasn't for that, presumably the puppet master would have gotten away with that and had this cyborg body just out there. How many other cyborg bodies are out there like this?
You do find that there's a reason why he did that, but
but it makes you question, like, how many more are out there that he's got just wandering around. You never know. The company is called Megatech, which is that's a good company name for a cyborg, for a cyberpunk. Megatech, fair. But yes, anyway, the Major decides that she's gonna basically dive into the brain to investigate, and Bato is like, you don't know what's in there, you don't know the puppet master's abilities, this seems like a really bad idea. It's very clear that Bato really, really cares for the Major. But she does take a moment to kind of reflect on her own existence, and this is where she like even more starts questioning like what she is. If this basically she's seeing herself here.
Yes.
Herself without a ghost. It like, well, that's basically me. The only difference is that I've got a brain. Apparently I've been told I have a brain.
Yeah.
She doesn't know. She's like, I've been told I've got a brain. And she says to Bato, she's like, what makes me human? And he's like, well, we treat you like a human. You're treated like a human here. And she's like, yeah, exactly. The only reason I feel like a human is because you guys treat me like one. Like, I don't know that I am one. I may not even have a brain. Like, I could just be programmed to think I've got a brain, Is there any real me in there? And I love Batu's just like, oh, that's just a load of horse shit.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
Batu seems to be a very practical man.
He is, like, yes, yeah.
Yeah. you know, you're just, you know, you're just talking here. It's just being silly. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah. Anyway, some Section 6 people arrive, and they shows he's got Nakamura is his name, from Section 6, and he shows this card signed by the foreign minister, and basically says, hey, that cyborg body is coming with us.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, in the car park,
and I love the lift they get into, because the lift's got all these like you know, like I guess when the doors close, there are like sections in the walls that move and stuff. Yep. It looks like the most dangerous lift you could possibly.
Yeah.
It looks like there are bits that could just catch on you and like crush you and.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
It's the coolest looking lift, but it also looks like totally dangerous as fuck.
Yeah. Anyway, in the car park, Togusa is, and again goes back to the conversation they had before. We need your human perspective and your human ideas.
Yeah.
He is suspicious, and so he checks the video of the Section 6 arrival.
There were two cars.
Yes.
in the car park, and he's like, what? There was only two dudes,
but the weight was wrong.
The weight was
So everything that comes in gets weighed, and he surmises that they've probably got some camouflage cyborgs with them. Yeah. Thus the extra weight, because he say that the doors took a whole like few seconds longer to close than they normally would have, so it kind of like the doors knew there was something there and didn't close properly. Yeah,
and he says, do the two guys, do they have, you know, cyber bodies? And the major's like, no, as far as I'm aware,
like, none of Section 6 have that.
None of Section has any of that. You know, they've got augments, but they've got no gear like, you know, we have.
Like me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you do see one of them when I love those. You see it a couple of times. I think you see some like not secretaries, but you see some women using them there. They've got those hands that split out. For
typing.
For typing, and it's like,
I need to do extra typing.
Yeah, each finger has sort of like splits into like like 3 mini fingers sort of thing, and it's got like all these like little typing things on the screen. It looks fucking awesome.
Go gadget admin assistant.
Exactly. Yes.
Anyway, so he suspects they've probably come in with some stealth cyborgs, which is obviously illegal, I think.
Yeah.
Which I think the major says, she's like, that would be like a massive violation if they've done that. Anyway, back in the lab, Aramaki and Nakamura are basically looking at the torso of the cyborg, and this is when they confirm that the cyborg is the puppet master.
Yeah.
Section 6 has also been chasing him, so the two departments or sections have been simultaneously hunting the same guy.
But they basically said that, you know, we've been tracking him for ages. You know, that's kind of,
it's the jurisdiction argument. Yeah. It's the FBI police jurisdiction thing.
It's what we've been doing. It's hot. Like, you know, like our whole goal has been to try and find the puppet master.
Yeah.
You know, you guys kind of lucked in on it. We were, you know, we're the experts here. We know what we're doing, sort of thing.
Yeah, but then the torso says that its name is Project 2501, and it's a self-aware computer program, and is requesting political asylum.
Yeah.
But then the camouflaged Section 6 cyborgs attack, and they grab the torso. Manage to
hole in the wall.
Yeah. And they managed to drive away, but luckily, I think his Bato drives like a truck down the end of the alleyway, right, to stop them briefly, or he gets someone to do that.
Yeah. No, I think it's just a passing truck, actually.
Oh, is it? Because they give him like a wave afterwards. Like,
no, I think it's just a passing truck. Cause,
is it? Because I thought he gave him like a knowing kind of wave, and then.
I could be wrong. Maybe I'm wrong, but. I know I thought I got the impression it was just an accident, but the other guy is using his revolver to try and shoot the glass out of it, completely bounces off.
Yeah, he realizes that it's bulletproof, but his last bullet or one of his bullets is a tracker.
He puts a tracker in the cylinder and fires that into the number plate.
And Bato is unimpressed.
Yes, it's like, hey, if you had a proper gun, you could have got like 2.
Yeah, it's like, what's the benefit of that, Bato? Yeah, because he's like, if you had an automatic, then you would have got like 4 trackers in it. It's like, but you only need 1 tracker, and he did it. Doesn't he say it's like rookie luck or something? Yeah, it's like, no, it was a good shot. Yeah, it was just, But yes, anyway, Aramaki basically says, "Yep, Section 9, you can take the project, and basically, if you can't get Project 2501 back, destroy it. So get it if you can. If not, destroy it." Just trying to think, where are we now? Yes, so Ishikawa reports on his investigation, and Dr. Willis basically has been dealing with the defecting programmer, and they've developed Project 2501, and it's designed for the foreign ministry, but they've lost control.
Yeah, basically supposed to be doing, foreign
spying and shenanigans. And of course now Section 6 have lost control of it. They're desperately trying to cover it up and be like, it wasn't us, nothing to do with us.
Basically, while the program was running around doing stuff all over the world, it was basically picking up things and becoming sentient.
Yes. And of course, since it was Section 6 that started this, they're now they were looking for the puppet master to try and shut this whole fucking thing down, because they're like, this is bad. If this comes out,
they thought they had it cornered, and they put up barriers to keep it what they thought contained, which is why he built himself the body, so that he could escape their containment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yes, so they basically head out, and Bato quite quickly realizes that there's a decoy. So there's 2 cars, a decoy car, and Bato basically he's like kind of starts chasing one of them, and isn't one of them killed? One of the so he manages to chase one of them down, but then the men are killed by a sniper rifle, right?
Yeah.
And then the major's in the helicopter looking down on the other car, and she basically rappels down, but realizes that she's not the only one that can stealth, because there's a massive tank, tank mech spider thing.
And again, with the details, and I love the way that with the helicopter, you've got the opening, the way it opens, it unfurls,
it's amazing,
almost like wings. Mm-hmm. It's got these like wings that unfurl, and they're just so fucking cool.
Yeah,
it's just so beautiful the way it's done. I mean, it's probably completely impractical, completely useless, but it just looks awesome.
Yeah, that's all that matters. It looks awesome. Obviously Bato is over the other side of the city or some shit, dealing with the other car, and the sniper.
He says to her, what is it? What have you got? And she says the gun she's got, and I think it's basically just a sort of a bullpup.
I think it's got heavy ammo, but it ain't gonna do shit to this thing.
Under normal circumstances, it would be fucking awesome.
Yeah,
but and he says, that's not going to make a scratch on that tank. And
he's like, give me a minute, I need to stop off at my house. Yeah. I'll be there soon.
He says he's on his way. He goes to make it. And one thing I don't know whether, I'm not even sure you've seen the movie. The tree of life sort of thing that gets, you see it get shot.
It's prominently in the trailer as well. I always remember that being in the trailer, and I was always like, what is that? Because they make such a big deal of that shot in the trailers.
Yeah. Have you ever seen Angel's Egg?
No.
It's one of the movies that Oshii made before. It's one of my favorite animes, and it's very odd, and it's very weird, and it's one of those. It's very philosophical as well, and it's basically a young girl carrying this egg, and there's a soldier, and it's sort of almost like a post-apocalyptic world, and that thing is in it.
Okay.
Like it's like a broken museum piece sort of thing.
Right.
And he basically reused it in this movie. It's just a small sort of detail, but Angel's Egg I highly recommend Angel's Egg. It's beautiful.
I just always remember
it's not for
that
everyone because it's very odd, but
I just always remember that shot being in the trailer back in the day, and I never knew what it was, and I was like, why do you always show that in the trailer?
Yeah,
it's a great shot. It's well done. But
it comes into play later on when they're talking about the branching of DNA and history.
Yeah, it's just quite an odd shot to put in a trailer. But yeah. But yeah, of course. So she basically tries shooting the tank.
Yeah, she's basically just shooting around it to sort of get.
She's buying time, I think, for Bato to arrive effectively.
She's doing. I think she's doing a little bit of that, but I think she's also trying to get it so that it runs out of ammo, which it does eventually after it's completely obliterated.
It's like nothing left.
Columns and walls and things.
They redid that in the Cyberpunk DLC. You fight a spider tank now in the Cyberpunk DLC, and it is literally it's really cool.
See, annoyingly, I've only got a PS4, so
oh no, yeah, of course they haven't done it for PS4.
DLC, annoyingly.
Yeah, they have a big spider tank in it. It's kind of cool.
I mean, there are whole missions in Cyberpunk that are totally from here.
100%.
There are lots of there's even ghost hacking in that.
There is indeed.
And yeah, I love that game.
So do I. I think it's fantastic.
Care what anybody says, even when it was broken, it was still beautiful.
Yeah, I left it like a year, so by the time I bought it, it was better.
Yeah,
but it was still quite broken. But I loved it, and now I think it's one of the best games.
Such a good game, and it was to me. It was exactly what I played on tabletop. It was
exactly that.
That was the world I lived. We lived in. That was the, all the details were right. It was. It's a great game. I really love it.
Yeah, it's great. But anyway, yes, you're right. So she basically dives around until the thing runs out of ammo, and then she jumps. She uses her stealth thing to basically jump on top of the tank.
Yep. And
she tries to lift the hatch, but it's solid. And basically she kind of breaks herself in the attempt.
It's one of those things that I think some people go, "This is stupid. Why is she bother?" But I think it's
not her body. It's just a cyber thing.
Yeah, and it's a sort of desperate attempt to for answers and for
well, and you get the impression that she doesn't have like pain receptors or anything like that. It's not like it's hurting her when she's doing this. She's just gonna fucking try, and she'll try until it breaks.
Have pain receptors. I think she does it anyway.
Maybe. It certainly doesn't appear that way.
And again, the detail,
because she's straining, but she's not like in agony or anything.
No, she's not. But I think that the detail you see.
Oh, it's amazing! The muscles in the back and stuff.
Muscles and the all the stuff moving under the skin as she's yanking this bloody lid, and it's not budging, and just the tearing of the joints.
Yeah,
her arms come out, her knee pops out of the knee joint pops out of her leg, and she's just like, and that's the thing she's basically a doll. She's just a dead doll. The body drops down.
Yeah, because her arm breaks off in the end. It just snaps off, and she ends up falling to the ground. Is just basically a torso.
Yeah, and she's completely broken. And it's one of the details that about the Major is that she never blinks. There are whole bits where you're just looking at her face, and she never blinks, and she's just a broken doll. She's just led there, completely, smashed up, and the tank
grabs her head,
grabs her with this appendage, and she's got the visor thing on, part of the stealth suit, and I love that bit where he's the sort of robotic hand is squeezing her head, and the visor shatters underneath the pressure, and you can see that her head is basically about to be completely squished.
Yeah.
And then there's a big old explosion.
Yes, Bato arrives with I guess like an anti-tank gun.
Like some sort of Japanese tank weapon. He never. Yeah. She asks him what it was, and he says, "Oh, just something I picked up."
Doesn't he say? I think in the dub he says, "Oh, just your standard issue massive gun" or something like that. I think he says in the dub.
Standard issue massive gun that I basically used for a mission and then acquired.
Yeah, he's like, basically, I was given this for a mission, and I probably maybe didn't give it back.
It sort of fell in my pocket.
But he manages to take out the tank. But of course, they still have to deal with Project 2501. So he takes it out of the car.
He's still in the car.
Yeah. So he grabs it out of the car and basically puts it next to the Major. Meanwhile, Section 6 are on the scene or arriving on the scene. Yeah. And they basically have orders to shoot both Project 2501 and the Major. Like, we're not taking any chances that this thing can jump into anyone else's consciousness. Take them both out. And
it clearly has a boner for the Major.
Yes, that too.
So let's take the Major out too.
Just take him out, yeah. So Bato basically wires the Major up to the torso. And we then get...
He's totally horrified by the idea that...
Oh, yeah. Well, he was horrified earlier.
Yeah, now
let alone now. Now he's like, oh my god.
Now it's a proper reality. He really doesn't want to do it.
No. But the project speaks through the Major and basically says that he learned about Section 9 through the net.
Yeah.
And he's basically been hoping for this join ever since.
Yeah, because he realizes her, he's seen her questioning that, he sees her existence as a similar existence to him. He sees her, but from,
and he's never had the chance to experience life like she does.
Yeah.
So he's like, I'm like, he basically says, like, we could merge.
Yeah, we're the perfect. We it's the whole.
We fill the gaps.
We have gaps that.
Yeah.
We can, we'll fit together if we merge.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the puppet master blocks her responses to Bato, so Bato can only hear what he's saying, and again, he's becoming increasingly more horrified by what he's saying.
He tries to disconnect, but he can't.
Yeah, he can. The puppet master basically controls him and makes him, his hands start twisting, and he can't touch the connecting wires and the I guess it's some sort of console that
and
part of the tank, isn't it? It's the console from the tank.
And the project also hacks Section 6 to give more time as the merger takes place. Mm-hmm. And then I think it might be because of a hack, or it might just be pure luck, but the blonde torso is fucked, like shot in the face with a high caliber sniper rifle and just explodes. The Major though is beheaded.
Puts his arm over the Major to sort of block any shot going to her.
Yes, but she gets beheaded.
Yeah,
and I'm not sure if that was because of the hack. Like, it was like they hacked the sniper to make it seem like it was a kill shot when it wasn't. Or whether it's just pure coincidence that she just happened to have her head survive. I don't know.
Yeah. I think I've always thought that it partially was to do with Bato's arm getting in the way.
It may be, like a combination of things.
Fudged the shot.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, Section 9 starts turning up in force.
Yes, so Section 6, like, okay.
Section
Time
6
to go.
Told they got the main job done.
They think they've probably killed the Major as well. They're like pretty sure. They're like, that'll do.
They know they've destroyed the puppet master, so
for sure. Yeah.
They pull out and disappear.
And then we see from the Major's perspective, we see her head obviously on the ground, and we see Bato run up to her and he's kind of shouting at her, and we hear the Major, and she's quite calm. She's just like, oh, Bato, I guess she's kind of resigned to her fate or whatever.
Yeah.
At this point.
Yeah, I think so.
But then, of course, again, continuing from her perspective, she wakes up in a room, and in the mirror we see this little girl.
Yeah.
Young, I guess, I don't know how old she's meant to be, like 8 or something.
Don't know. She's just a doll, isn't she?
She's just a young, she's basically still got the Major's head, kind of, but just on a doll's body. But yeah, so she's greeted by Bato,
Yep.
and she's like, things have changed quite a lot since I was shot.
Yeah. And I like that she says, "Hey, you've got really good taste." It's like, is this? I presume this is your safe house. It's like, yep, because you're the first person who's ever been here.
Yeah. And Bato is quite quick to be like, hey, look, it's the only body I could find.
Yeah.
Not to my taste, but it'll do for now, right? It's like,
Yeah.
it'll do for now. And we learn that it's like about a day later.
I think 3 days, I think he says.
Oh, is it? Maybe. Either way, the foreign minister is basically resigned, and the whole thing's been covered up, obviously.
Yeah.
But the major basically gets up to leave, and Bato's like, what are you gonna do? And she says, well, look, I'm not the major, and I'm not the puppet master. I'm neither. Yep. I'm a new being.
Mm-hmm.
And she basically says, she'll see him again, and she's gonna go her own way, and see what happens. And then, of course, as she leaves, she basically says, "Oh, what's the newborn gonna do now?" And says the
I like Bato just says,
pick your car.
There's a bunch of keys in pick the car you want.
Yeah.
And the code is 2501.
Yeah.
And she says that'll be our code for next time we meet, sort of thing.
Yes. Yeah.
And you get that, she leaves and she says, "What will the newborn do now?" And it's almost a sinister look.
Well, it is, because she says that the net is vast and infinite, and there's kind of like you said, like kind of sinister smile, and she looks out across the city, and the
unblinking face of the major.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that is where the film ends. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say about this film other than it's fucking brilliant. I mean, it is like seminal anime. You should watch it from just an art perspective. Just the visuals are amazing. It's some of the best hand-drawn / CG mixed animation you will ever see.
I think the one thing I would say is anybody who's watching this movie, watch it more than once. Watch it twice.
Oh, definitely. It deserves.
Because I think it's not a bloody straightforward story. There are a lot of sort of twists and a lot of sort of weirdness that you have to think about. I think, and it's slow moving.
It's very like Blade Runner in its slow, methodical pace.
And it's very weird that I just watched the Killer.
Yes, you reviewed it last week. Yeah,
it's got that very philosophical bent to it. It's not a standard action movie. It has a lot of very quiet moments where you're just sat watching him. And that this movie has that. It's that whole sort of you're seeing the city, you're seeing the setting. There's a lot of very thoughtful stuff that I think I certainly didn't get it all on the first time I watched it.
No.
And I don't think anybody does. I'm sure there are people that do, but I think a lot of people don't get every detail in their first watch through.
No.
So I would say give it a go, watch it, but watch it twice. Watch the movie, give it some thought, give it some time, and then watch it again. And I think you will get a lot out of it.
I agree. It's
a stunningly made, beautifully put together. Like we said earlier, possibly the best anime that's ever been made.
I mean, from a technical level, if not a narrative, And
I think both the Japanese, the original Japanese is good, is great, but I actually think the English dub is good too. I think it's one of those very good early.
Do you know, I never watched the I obviously watched the English dub the first time I saw it, and then ever since I've owned it on DVD, I've always watched subtitled with the original language, because that's the way I generally watch things. But I did, for this review, I rewatched it with the dub, and I was like, no, the dub's really good actually. It's a solid dub.
Both the voices of Bato and the Major are really good.
Yeah, really, really good. So yeah, that is Ghost in the Shell from 1995. Highly, highly recommended from both of us, as all of these are. But
yeah, well, that's the point of these movies. We just like to talk about movies that we love.
Well, that's the thing. It's great, isn't it? We get to talk positively about good things.
Yeah.
But yes, anyway, we will be back next week talking about new things we've seen. Probably less positive, but you never know. You never know. We're both intending on watching Oppenheimer, so hopefully that'll be a positive. Yes, until then, stay safe, take care, and we will catch you next time.